This week's movie, Who Am I? After a jewellery heist goes wrong, I begin to believe that a member of my colourful crew is possibly a rat. Stay tuned to find out. You're listening to the Banana Reel Movie Podcast, episode 30. Warning, this show contains spoilers and coarse language, so you've been forewarned. Hey there, folks. We are the Theatre Gorillas. My name is Carlos.
I'm Heath.
And I'm Lee, and Heath's had way too much coffee.
It seems that way. He keeps making weird gestures, which I still can't decipher what they
It's
are.
because it's Boba Fett. Boba Fett. Where?
Over there?
He's right here.
Okay. As usual, we'll just get this silly stuff out of the way. You can always get us at our website, theatregorillas.com. Twitter is at theatregorillas or facebook.com/theatregorillas. And of course, if you ever want to send us an email, you can do so at theatregorillas@gmail.com. And one last thing, if you like the show, rate us on iTunes and tell your friends because every little bit helps.
Yeah, please rate us on iTunes.
Hey, don't sound too desperate.
Yeah, seriously, please.
Yes. Okay, so what's in the news this week? We've had a nice Christmas, New Year's break.
Oh, mate, look, we could go on forever just on doing a show just on the news that we've missed over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But
Let's not.
no, let's not. Look, let's we've had some bad news over the last few weeks with many iconic actors and musicians dying. Two of which I think that we should really touch on because of the fact that we're a movie podcast, and that would be the death of David Bowie and Alan Rickman.
Yeah. I was rather upset with Alan Rickman because he's one of my favourite actors, to be honest. And when I learnt that...
He really just seems to take the character on and you'd leave, most of himself behind and just become that character.
Yeah, a very good method actor.
Absolutely. And you know what? And I think I heard someone say he had this gravitas where he could sound so gravelly and deep, yet at the same time with this great amount of charm. And, you see that in the fact that how he can play this dry, almost evil character like in Die Hard, who I was going to say Gruber. That's it.
Hans Gruber.
Hans Gruber. But then you can have this lovable, almost, sympathetic character in Love Actually.
Yeah. One of my favourite villains that he's played is actually from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
I know. My girlfriend and I last night were saying we have to rewatch that movie just for him because he's
got
fantastic.
Some of the best lines too.
I still love and call off Christmas.
My favourite is when the cousin's questioning why cut his heart out with a spoon, cousin? Why not with a knife or an axe? Because it's dull, you twit. It will hurt more.
I love that one.
And once again, that delivery, it's funny.
It's a funny line.
Yet he's talking about cutting out someone's heart.
Exactly.
It is fantastic. And David Bowie, I mean...
The Goblin King.
The Goblin King, also in The Prestige playing Nikolai Tesla.
Yes.
Remember?
I forgot about that.
And it's still of other films that he, appeared in as well, but also just the music. I mean, that for me was the hard one. I just went, fuck, I grew up on David Bowie.
We all did.
And...
Whether you were actually a fan of it or not, there's chances that you've watched a television show or you've watched a movie that has utilised a lot of his music.
Absolutely.
And subconsciously has influenced you with your viewing.
Absolutely.
That's a big one.
Absolutely. And it was funny because just before he died, there was this funny thing going around on Facebook where it was, what did Bowie do? And so if anyone can find it, if I can find it again on my Facebook, I'll post it on our Twitter and our Facebook. Mm-hmm. But it was that you put in your age and it tells you what Bowie did at your age.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's very, very cool because I put in mine and it was, my girlfriend put it in hers and it's like he got in a bar fight and got punched by this person and he took it like a champ. At 33, he starred in some film. At 34, he made Under Pressure. All this shit that he did at those ages. And what a life.
Yeah.
So good. He will be greatly, greatly missed.
I concur. Movie news?
Movie news. Okay. Oh, fuck. See, there's so much. But I think.
What about the Force Awakens one?
Okay. The Force Awakens. The good old Force Awakens. How many times have you guys seen it now?
I've only seen it twice.
Yeah, twice.
3 times for me. Anyone out there seen it more than 3 times? Let us know, because I have heard there's some people who've seen
Congratulations, you are one of the many that have helped contribute this movie become a huge success financially.
Oh, totally.
It's already hit $1 billion domestic in the US.
It's nearly taken over Avatar. hasn't it?
It's so close to taking over Avatar.
But it's only been a couple of weeks. Like, surely that's the if you look at it on a graph over time, it's shot straight up to where Avatar probably took a couple of months to get there.
It is. It has broken records in time.
Yeah,
but it still hasn't got highest box office of all time.
Can you imagine how much they've actually made, including merchandise?
Oh, dude.
Everywhere you look.
Yeah.
I've bought 2 stuffed toys. We're looking at buying Lego.
Yep.
Also looked at the mask. I went, no, that's silly.
I
want it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the mask? There's the children's mask that's just the face only. And then there's the adult one where it actually clicks behind the head as well.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, I have seen that.
It's
I was
200,
tempted.
200 and something bucks. I'm like, oh, no, I can't.
Does he change your voice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's excellent. I think I just made a couple of sales. And then there's that little remote control BB-8 Sphero.
Oh, I've got that.
Which Heath has one.
It's fucking adorable. I had it out on New Year's, just going around the living room. People were like, this thing is so cute. I'm like, yeah, it's like a puppy dog.
Yeah.
And it goes around, it bumps into you, and it goes, whoa. And, oh, it's so fucking cute.
Yeah, I wanted one of those as well.
Yes. Well, on news of that, as we know, there was the character Maz. Mm-hmm. And now
Creepy little orange grandma.
Yeah, like, she's 1,000 years old. She's lived through, the
Which
Old Republic.
technically
and stuff.
she is now the oldest living known being in the Star Wars universe.
Yes. Well, exactly. Well, that we know of, exactly. Like I said, known.
Probably like Yoda's niece or something.
Well,
actually, it wouldn't have been the same
she's
age.
older.
He was
no,
900
he was
and something.
900 and something. She's
Yeah.
over 1,000.
She's, yeah. Yeah,
Oh, well,
actually,
then it's
you're
his
right.
auntie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There was even a rumor going around that Yoda and Maz were their main, like each other's main squeeze for a little while.
I think
I don't
that's
think
just
so,
being
but-
convenient.
I actually...
She likes taller guys, apparently.
Yeah.
yeah.
She likes hairier guys.
Yeah.
She likes the wogmen.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't know what Yoda looked like in his youth. He had a little bit of grey balding going on now, but that was at 800 years old. He could have had flowing locks.
I reckon he looked like that the entire time.
Little goblin man.
Yeah, tiny little six-pack.
Anyway, the news of Maz.
Yes. So she talks about, how she knows the Force. She's not a Jedi, but she knows the Force and she knows how it works. Supposedly there's a deleted scene, and we might get this on the Blu-ray, don't know, but of her, when the First Order storm her little enclave?
Yep.
And she's in the, under the ground with Rey, like in the tunnels.
Yep.
Supposedly she's running through the tunnels and there's stormtroopers behind her, and she uses the Force to collapse the tunnel on top of them. With that they've deleted. So she's a Force user.
Yeah.
Not a Jedi.
That would sort of make sense because...
She disappears during that battle. No one knows what happens to her.
Yeah. Because just going back to the previous movies, when Luke is being trained by, well, in a way, being trained by Yoda,
Yep.
he goes off to face Vader in that cave.
Yes.
That's not a naturally occurring cave, surely. It's something that Yoda's constructed. So when Rey has her visions, when she touches the lightsaber, maybe that was Maz guiding the vision to just occur, and it's what you bring in with you is what you see.
Well, see, the thing with...
possibly.
Yeah, it could be, and that's exactly it. Because the thing is as well, remember what Yoda talks about with that place, like that cave on Dagobah, is that it's rife with the dark side of the Force. So there could be also just be pockets of, a Force energy. But also, if you just have an affinity to it, as we've seen, well, I mean, you guys haven't, but as you see in Star Wars Rebels, there are characters in it that they're not Sith, they're not Jedi, but they've just got an affinity with the Force. So it means that they could still have some form of control over it, which I'd be interested to see.
Well, the other thing is as well, if Maz is collecting artifacts and potentially Jedi or Sith artifacts for her own safekeeping,
Absolutely.
then certain energies are probably irradiating and creating these sort of tests as well.
I think we'll find out that whilst some of the other characters in this are not Sith or not Jedi, they do use the Force unknowingly.
Yes.
Like the way Poe drives the X-Wing.
Well,
He's just incredible.
Yeah.
There's
He's levels above everybody else.
There's a possible explanation for that in the comics. When the Emperor is killed, Luke goes back to Coruscant, where the Emperor's got his temple, and he finds 2 Force-sensitive trees. He gives one to, I think it was the rebels, Monmouth. I can't even say it.
Mothma.
Thank you. And the other one he gives to another family, which happened to be Poe's parents.
Yeah.
So chances are the tree, which is Force-sensitive and irradiating with Force energy, has irradiated into Poe.
And
That is a theory at the moment.
Yeah. No, it's like and the way Han Solo's he is the worst smuggler ever,
Yes,
but he still manages to get away every time
because he's got enough sense that his luck's going to have to get him through it.
His luck.
He has charisma.
Yeah, his charisma and his luck is undeniable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some kind of force there.
I wanted to mention quickly that Creed's director
Yes.
has now been appointed as the director of Black Panther.
Yes.
So that will be interesting.
That would be very good. And guys, we haven't seen Creed yet, have we?
No, we haven't.
Yeah, need to
Well,
get.
I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't either. We need to because I've been hearing really good things about that movie. So it's one I want to see.
Apparently, it's on par with the original Rocky.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
I've heard it's meant to be fucking amazing. Like great for nostalgia, yet at the same time, it's a great story and it's really well
Apparently,
directed.
it's a really good closer for Stallone's character himself.
Yeah.
Rocky.
Suppose he's already signed on to come back for Creed 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
But he's not the boxer anymore.
No, he's completely
the trainer.
retired.
He's like now the Mick.
Yeah, well, apparently Stallone was saying in a recent interview or something that because of Creed, they're like, oh, so is Rambo coming back? And he's like, look, I've had the script for years. The heart says yes, the body says no.
Yeah. He can't do the physical things
He
anymore.
can't physically do it anymore.
The dude's in his 60s.
I'm sure he's past his 60s.
No, he's in his 60s.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's still old, dude. Like, and he's a fit guy, but yeah. Anyway, I can see it, but I'm really looking forward to Black Panther.
I'm
really-
going to chuck this one in before we move on.
Yeah.
I am really looking forward to Deadpool.
Oh, fucking
my
A.
God.
And the promos they've been doing for that movie.
Ryan Reynolds is the marketing machine for that movie.
Yeah.
And one of the recent posts he did was apparently he egged Fox that the marketing team that they wouldn't put a billboard of a meme.
Yeah.
I can't see what that is.
He's 69 years old.
Stallone 69.
Ah, there we go. Close.
Yeah, so it's
So the billboard was he goes.
Using
I bet
Apple
Fox wouldn't
emoji.
use. Yeah. So a skull, the smiling poo face, and
Says an
the
L.
letter L. He's like, I dare you to do that. I don't think you've got enough balls. And his tweet was, or his post was actually, well, looks like they got enough room in their ball sack, sort of a thing, because he found a billboard with it.
Nice.
So yeah.
and the fact that they've been doing that the romantic version of Deadpool
I know.
for
Valentine's Day.
For Valentine's Day, that cracks me up. Oh shit.
Anyway, I think it's time to move on to this week's film, Hard Candy.
Yes. Now, this is a bit of a nostalgia one because we have been on the road of doing mainly newish films of late. And now we've gone back 10 years.
Well, I thought it would be a nice, easy way to ease into the new year. I know there are a couple of new movies out there, but it's a little bit difficult with, sort of getting
Holidays.
back into the swing of things.
Yep.
So I thought it'd be nice to sort of have an easy one to watch.
Oh, just such a happy film to jump straight back into.
I know. It's like, it's warm-hearted. It's two people coming together of mutual need and want and...
And trying to tear each other apart psychologically.
And physically.
Oh, God.
The reason I picked this one is mainly because it's not that it's unknown, but a lot of people don't actually know this movie.
Yeah.
So I thought, why not? It's actually one of my favorite movies of around that time.
Yep.
So this movie stars Patrick Wilson and Ellen Page. There are maybe two more actors in this film.
Yeah, but it
Not really.
mainly focuses on those two.
Yes, it really does not need the others.
No. Yeah, so it's very much not an ensemble cast.
And it's directed by David Slade, who is also the director of 30... what's his... my brain is dying.
He's
30 Days of Night.
Oh, really? He did the...
Yes.
Oh,
That was a good movie.
So
big change though.
Hard Candy, from what I can see, Hard Candy was his first actual film.
Yep.
And then straight after it was 30 Days of Night.
And this was Ellen Page's first film as well, wasn't it?
I think it was her first official sort of film.
Starring role.
Yeah, she's been in other roles like TV movies and,
Okay.
and stuff like that. So the plot of this is really simple. I'm just going to read what's IMDb's written here. Now, I don't entirely agree with this, but anyway, the plot is a teenage girl raids a man's home suspecting he is a pedophile in order to expose him.
No, she tries entrapment.
Yeah.
She basically sets herself up as bait, gets taken into his trust and into his home. He's assuming that he's going to be able to, take advantage. Mm-hmm. And she has basically laid out this very meticulous trap for him.
Yeah, because for me, it's not that she suspects. She knows he's a pedophile.
And the last couple of sentences she says in the movie,
Yeah.
she knows damn well.
Exactly
Well,
right.
here's the thing, right? I remember watching this movie the first time around and thinking to myself, okay, the underlying question is this guy a pedophile or not? Has she built this up in her head?
Yeah, and that can be debated almost all the way through to the end.
Yeah.
No, see, the thing is, it can't.
Up until the safe is opened.
Up until the safe is opened, you kind of are debating. And especially with the one thing, okay, before we actually get into that part as well, because one thing I love with this movie is that first little act when they first meet, so they're in the coffee shop and they first meet, you do get the sense, and this is as someone who, I mean, even on my second watching, that he is the predator.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's a 14-year-old girl. She's meeting this grown man with what the fuck is he doing, or both of them doing, in a coffee shop. It's very much like they're on a date. It's very, for her, it's very innocent. For him, it's very insidious. And you get that until you get the turning point where they're at his apartment and she drugs
Here's
him.
the interesting thing. Like, he has plans. That much is for sure. I don't know whether he already planned to take her to his house, but at least meet her and gauge whether it's worth pursuing.
Yeah, he has plans upon plans upon plans. Like we find out later on, he's been trying different bands to get the girl interested.
Yeah.
Like she's been pretending to be like 12 different people or something.
Yes.
And she's been mentioning a different band every time. And so he's done his research, come back and said, I like them too. And then managed to find a bootleg of the one he finally uses with
Goldfrapp.
Was Goldfrapp with
Awful
Thong
band, by the
Girl.
way.
Thong Girl is the one that finally, he successfully took the bait with. And yeah, so he has this recording ready to go. He's got his studio set up for taking photos. He's got a nice quiet house. Like he's got layers upon layers of plans for this girl. Like he said, I'll wait 4 years for you right in the beginning. Yeah,
And which we know he's not going to do.
No, he's gonna dump her as soon as any of those aliases she gave a different age to. He dumped them as soon as he found out they were too old, over 18.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's the thing is, and that's where I go, you really do get that sense at the beginning of this that she's the innocent victim that's going to, who's going to be, victimized. And what word do you use? Abused, basically. And he's this insidious creep of I find this sort of thing like really for him, as in dudes that do this thing as like disgusting. So that's why I kind of you do get this sense that he's this creep and this perverted man.
Well,
who's going to take advantage of her.
The movie is definitely geared towards raking an emotion out of your gut. Like, it's visceral in certain scenes.
Yes.
To drive an emotion out of the audience, to then either side with the guy who you think possibly he's just a victim.
Yeah.
And this girl is completely lost in marbles, or you side with Ellen Page. And so you kind of have to, at one stage, you pick one or the other. And if you've picked the wrong person, then you end up in a situation where you're like, fuck, okay.
Well, yeah, and then you sometimes you do get pushed the other way. I did feel myself going the other way. Like, I want to, fully talk about the way I felt during this movie, and saying you side with a pedophile is pretty fucking horrible, but in some cases I started to.
The points where he was screaming can I say as well, Patrick Wilson, fantastic actor. He does a lot of little low-key indie kind of films and whatnot. Anyone out there, give him the time of day because he's fucking amazing. He's also in the current season of Fargo. Anyway, there's points where he's screaming, and he's screaming for help with so much
Force and
desperation. That's the word I'm looking for. Fuck, you believe it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this poor man.
What I find,
but he's a pedophile.
What I find really interesting too is that the fact that he's screaming so hard for the remainder of the film, his voice is destroyed.
Yeah.
It's actually worn out, tired. He's exhausted.
Yep.
But
Do we know over what period of time it was filmed?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah. It looks like they've done a couple of nice little cuts to give the actors a break, but it could have been done within a few days.
Yeah, which wouldn't have surprised
Could
me.
even have been done within a day.
Yeah, it could have.
Yeah.
Like, as I said, those cuts were well placed to give them time to breathe and sort of, remember their lines and shit.
Water. Yeah.
No, she's giving him water when he needs
true.
it. But then she's also giving him a face full of bleach.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah,
Not
it
a
was
face
good.
full of bleach, a mouthful of bleach.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, to get him to stop screaming. Oh.
Yeah, it's good. Fuck, the whole thing's
Oh,
intelligent.
totally.
But in what you were saying before, Lee, you don't want to side with pedophile, but you do. The thing is, for the longest time in this film, you suspect, okay, this guy is a little dodgy. He is with a young girl, and you can see that he has an attraction to her.
Yeah.
Initially, he's standing off from doing anything. She's constantly baiting him. The first time I watched it, didn't notice it so much. And it's like, okay,
How old were you when you watched it?
originally, it was 2005, so it would have been
2005,
about 20 or so.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so we would
Give or
be
take that.
in our 20s.
So, yeah, basically only just sort of getting out of your teenage years yourself. You don't notice age gap so much.
Yeah. So initially, you look at, initially for me, I'd look at this movie and go, okay, the main core things, what happens? Okay, these two meet. You can clearly see that one is younger than the other.
Yep.
And he is fairly professional. He's like, look, this is what I do. This is how I take the pictures. Explains the method, the story, the construction of taking a photo. And then she insists to go to his place. I'd like to have some photos done.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll show you my cameras and stuff like that. We'll take a couple of pictures and blah, blah, blah. You can see there is an attraction, but he does keep it professional.
Yeah, see, he's keeping it professional from that. The first thing, well, look, yes, in that standpoint, because he's playing the grown up, and that's the thing. That's where when you hear about a lot of these predator type people who do prey on younger girls or younger people, is they take the role of the adult. They are serious. They're the things that are generally missing from their lives. The fact of the matter is, though, this girl's still 14.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I'm not denying that whatsoever.
Yeah, so it doesn't excuse.
What I think I noticed with it is that he actually provides all of the information for her to jump on.
Yes.
So if, let's just assume it is just a normal 14-year-old girl,
See,
trying to impress an older guy will jump on anything she sees presented. He said, I have this
bootleg.
And then she goes, oh, of course I want to see that. I want to hear it. Sorry. And he's offered it. I know that, he's not going to ask me back to his house because he's being, respectful. But she's going to jump on that, trying to impress him, trying to be the older girl who's not afraid of going somewhere. I'm a little bit insane. I'm going to take the risk, And it seemed like she was just out to impress him. And that's what he was after. Yeah. He knew that she was going to be like that.
Yeah. And that's actually a message that they put out throughout this movie all the time with her interactions with him after she's drugged and tied him up and whatnot.
I love that explanation she gives.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. And because she's there saying it's like, you're the adult. You're the responsible. You're the one who shouldn't be even in letting these things occur, letting these conversations happen. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I love that
that was before she found the photos, wasn't it?
That was before she found the photos.
It was shortly after he wakes up from being tied up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was just really good. Like the message that they gave. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about with this movie, and that was about how she goes about taking him apart. Mm-hmm. She goes, yeah, and then also how she does that. Tries to do that physically.
Yeah, okay.
I think I need to talk about that probably first, the physical bit, because that's the bit that I remember from watching part of it years ago, and that's what I was actually dreading having to watch again.
Really? Okay.
Because it is we're talking about the scene where she tells him that she's going to castrate him, cut his balls off.
Yes.
And so that whole scene is geared around performing a community service by removing his balls and stopping him from ever hurting anybody again. And the way she just orchestrates the whole thing is amazing. It was really well planned on her behalf.
Yes.
She ends up faking it. She fakes the whole thing and just scares him witless.
And can I say, as in also from a cinematic point of view, even to this day, after I've seen this movie now a few times, the way it's shot, the way it's done, you still get did she cut his balls off?
Yeah.
You know it's not, as in because they've got the whole setup that she does, but as in as you're watching it, and especially with the two cups,
yep,
you're like, did she actually do it?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
And then when he sits up, he says under his breath, I'm whole.
Yeah.
I'm whole. I'm still there.
I know, but that's what I mean.
And you go, oh, thank God. But then you go, why am I thanking God? Like, I wanted this guy. And this is what I wanted to talk about. It comes down to I'm a male, and for me to see somebody else get injured in the genitals hurts me. I don't know where that comes from. It's very
It's a
instinctual.
psychosomatic response.
Yeah.
But more fundamentally, I think that by the time the movie gets to this point, you don't side with the pedophile. You're siding with Ellen Page. You want her to find the evidence. You want her to get the confession.
Yes.
You want her to get justice. The thing is, if she does castrate him, like, it breaks this very fine line of she is still a teenager. What he is saying to her while he's strapped up on the table, this will haunt you, blah, 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 this and so forth. Years down the track, when you're getting married, this is going to be playing in your head. The thing is, if she actually did castrate him, then it brings the question of, has she gone a little too far? Should she just be getting the evidence and letting the police deal with it?
Yeah.
But ultimately, in the end, what she wants a life for a life, but she's not going to be the one to take it.
No.
Yes, and that's actually a very good point as well. It's that, yes, she does want that, but at the same time, and I mean, it's funny that he's trying to plead to her decency and her innocence into not performing such a gruesome act. And I do know what you mean as well. We do also kind of, when you're saying as a man, you do watch it and you kind of go, oh, that fuck, what's going on. I also actually think it's more of a human point, because as people, like decent people, we don't want to see people in pain and in harm.
In mutilation.
And that's what that is happening to that person.
I think her perspective on that is probably she's returning the favour.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And with
preventative maintenance, I think she says.
Yes, that's actually the word. Oh, what a great line.
It kind of, all that keeps going in my head is that she mentions at one point that you popped their cherry.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you took their innocence away. So I'm going to take your weapon away from you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, the whole ordeal of putting his balls, supposedly, down the garbage disposal.
Yeah, she said, oh, this guy, had his thumb reattached. And then said, she doesn't actually say, I'll take that away from you, but that's what she does.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
He still, he couldn't move it very well, but he still had it.
Yeah. And then she goes, we don't need that.
Yeah, exactly.
Gives him a false sense of hope and then just
immediately takes it away, which is what I wanted to get to about the psychological things that she was doing. She basically goes after 4 different things when she's dealing with him. Like, she gets him sexually aroused in the beginning and then takes that away from him. And I think that's the sexual arousal is on this same spectrum as this love that she uses right at the end, this love for this woman that left him. Mm-hmm. Which is, the first person that he had this interaction with, we think.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that the story of...
No, that's a different cousin, I think.
Right.
That story that I think you're alluding to is when he was really young, about 9 or 10.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
That's not the woman that he's
he
in love
never
with?
He never saw her again until the funeral of that lady.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the first person that he photographed and fell in love with who was underage.
Ah, okay.
So I think this sexual arousal and this love is on this same spectrum.
Yeah.
And then on the opposing spectrum is this fear and anger. And so she goes through this sexual arousal, and that's part of her trap. She gets him really turned on, and then she takes that away. And that's not going to happen. And then she works on the next one, which was the fear. She works on his fear for a long time, and that's part of the castration, was part of that fear campaign she was running on him.
Yep.
And then after she'd finished with that fear campaign, then she went on the same spectrum again and then start to go towards his anger.
Yep.
And let him go all the way through that and then allow him to accept the fact that he is a pedophile and admit it to himself. And also that he is a angry and violent pedophile. And then go all the way through that emotion and then take that away from him as well by invoking the last one, which is love of that girl.
By
and
getting her
saying-
to come and...
Getting her to come there and says,
witness what he is.
and witness what he is and say, unless you end it all, I will destroy the last one that you have left, which is your love.
Yeah.
So she went through these 4 major emotions, these 4 major drives of a human being and destroyed them all one at a time.
And that's probably why then at the end he has nothing left.
He has nothing left.
And he's willing to go...
But even then, he still doesn't. He resists and says, I'll tell you who the other person was. It wasn't just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then actually... And I like that where
Because she was saying, I'll leave you love. I'll leave
Yeah.
love there for you.
Yeah.
And
She'll
then
never
after-
know.
She'll never know. And so he freely gives up.
Yep.
The only thing left to him, he doesn't have fear, anger, or lust left anymore. She's already broken those. It was methodical, well planned, the way she went through him.
Makes you also wonder because right at the end you find out that he explains there was more than one person. It was me and one other, and he's about ready to give up. The guy, I'll help you find him. I'll help you find him is what he says. And she turns around and it's basically, well, whatever the guy's name was, already gave you up.
Yeah. Aaron
Before-
or something. Yeah.
Before he
yeah.
before he took his own life, he
Yeah.
said, "You were the killer."
Actually, he didn't say take his own life. He said before he died.
Before he jumped.
Before he died. Yeah, the lines, she goes, before he said that you did it before he died.
Okay, whatever it is, before the man passed on.
Yeah.
I reckon he would have been in a similar situation.
Yeah, I
yeah.
would have been interested to see what she did to him as opposed to what she ends up doing to Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon because that probably, well, we don't even know. That might have not have been her first, or this guy that we see in this movie wouldn't have been her second. Maybe she's been doing this for ages.
Well, that's the other thing.
Well, that's it. We also don't know.
I wanted to ask.
We don't know
right?
anything about her.
Yeah, we don't.
No, she is an enigma throughout this movie. She, as Patrick Wilson's character Jeff is saying towards the end of the film on the roof, I'll find you, I'll find you, I'll find you. And she's like, I doubt it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You don't know anything about me.
You know, my name might not be Haley. It might not,
Yeah.
He goes, I know your father's a doctor at this uni. And she's like, really?
I told you that.
Yeah.
You think I told you the truth?
And that's a great play.
So we don't know who this person is, right?
Yeah.
We don't know anything about it. Now, the question I wanted to ask is, there's never an association of who the murdered victim is to Ellen Page's character. We never find out.
Well, that's exactly right.
We
Because
don't know whether she's a friend or a sister or a cousin or just someone she read about in the newspaper.
I think it's that last one. I actually think that she's on whatever level. I don't want to use the term lightly, but I believe she's probably a sociopath. I don't know what the proper diagnosis of someone like that would be, but she is a sociopath as far as the Hollywood definition would be.
she could also just be on a revenge, as in she was a victimized person who has decided to take that back and to then...
I'm
We
not
don't know
saying
her
how she
motivation.
got there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying how she got there, but the way she carried it out.
Yeah, exactly.
She's methodical. She rarely got flustered. Like when she got knocked over and things like that, it sort of put a kink in her plans, but she had another 12 plans ready to go.
The interesting thing is when he's tied to a chair with wheels and he pins her against a wall really hard.
Yeah.
And she ends up making him pass out by wrapping Glad wrap all around his face.
Oh, God.
And eventually he passes out. And when she gets free of him, she sits there coughing, holding her gut. But what she ends up doing is what I thought was interesting.
She takes the plastic off his face.
Well, she doesn't want to...
checks that he's still got a pulse.
Well,
Because she needs him to be alive. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She needs the confession. She wants to make sure she breaks him. But what I'm getting at is that the whole situation actually makes her angry to the point where she is bashing herself against the wall.
Yes.
Which leads me to think the quote, she ends up mentioning it twice, but at the start and towards the end of the film, she mentions that 4 out of 5 doctors have said that she is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, is that who she really is? Is she a victim or a previous victim, or is she just someone who feels compelled to get retribution to those who have been wronged?
Yeah,
to
it's a
me,
good idea.
to me, it's like Hannibal or Dexter. Those characters that
Well,
for
funny-
whatever reason,
funny you say that. This
decide to use
director-
their sociopathic tendencies for different means. Not just go after ever more challenging prey or some sense of justice that they think there's not being served in the world. I think that's
funny
her
you
as well.
say that, actually, regarding it's similar to Hannibal or Dexter, is that this director, not that he is responsible for the creation of the series, but he ended up directing 5 episodes of Hannibal. I thought that's an interesting
That's a very interesting little
crossover.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm just having a crack.
No, that's good.
But look, I think it's a very interesting take with Ellen Page as well. I think her acting is incredible.
Oh, she is fantastic.
Sorry. Another thing I wanted to say. I was dreading coming back into this movie because of that scene, but having watched it from start to finish, not just part way to the end, I feel it feels totally justified. The movie does paint her as a heroine. She did set
Like an
out
anti-hero.
an anti-hero.
I was going to say, yeah.
Someone that sort of is justified in using extreme methods.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to get into, I wanted to look at a little bit of actual acting performances.
Yes.
We talked briefly about Patrick Wilson. He is really good. This would have been the first movie that I saw him in.
Yeah, it would have been, I think, the first I've seen him in as well.
And funnily enough, I don't recall seeing his face again until Watchmen.
Yes, shit. See, I keep forgetting that he's in Watchmen as well. He's our man.
Yes.
Oh, see, exactly right.
But this is a really good performance from him, but more so Ellen Page. From what we can see, it's one of her first major roles. And how old did we say that she was by the time she recorded
She
this?
recorded it probably around 18
Yeah,
years
she was
old.
about 18.
And then when it was released, about 19.
Yeah, and it's just phenomenal.
I had the thought in my head watching it going, fuck, I hope this young girl wasn't so young that she's learning all this shit for the first time. I mean, probably not.
She is a very youthful looking young girl, though. Like,
oh, God, there's some pretty brutal stuff in it.
yeah.
And what else I wanted to mention was that throughout the course of the movie, you see little inflictions in her face, and the way she's able to control that is really scary.
Yeah.
Particularly at the beginning when she gets in the car, you can see that she's upset. At first, well, not upset, she's a little bit nervous. At first, you think when you're first watching it through, it's this girl's getting into a stranger's car. She's maybe a little bit nervous that she's making the right decision. No, she's just nervous because she knows what she's planning.
Yeah.
And when you go back and watch it a second time round, you pick up on all these little inflictions and...
I'm not sure how much of that was... Or maybe she was nervous, but for me, because I knew what she was going to do, to me it looked like she was still playing that character. She was such a good character actor. Sorry, as in the
Hayley.
Ellen Page playing Hayley is a very good actress, but then this was Hayley playing Thong Girl.
Yeah.
So Hayley playing Thong Girl as the
Innocent young...
innocent youth.
Yeah.
A little bit nervous about doing something that she would find very easy.
Yeah. It's actually funny that you say that because that's what I always got with even on the second watching of it. Well, sorry, not on the first, but on the second watching, you do get more that she is playing up the innocence and the nervousness. Because I do understand what you mean with those tics for him to, as in for the appearance.
Yeah.
It's like, because I'm just the girl.
I believe the same thing up until the point where he tries to suck her in with that line about this will hurt you, I forgive you, I'll let you go. And she starts sobbing, and then she goes from sobbing into a laugh. That's really fucking brutal. And I love that bit. And just being able to watch her act through that as Thongo and Hayley, that I think puts a bit more of a spin on she's been playing him the whole time.
Yeah.
She knows how to act
Well,
up.
what I find interesting is when the very first moment at their house when he passes out from the drugs that she slipped into the drinks.
Yes.
As he's fading out and you see the camera fade to black. Did you guys notice her go from a worried expression to a very big, wide smile?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just right before it fades out. And it's like, at that moment, if you're paying attention, you realize, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when everything begins to turn.
It's also the way that she moves in that little scene as well. Like you see, she's there, she's going, oh, what's up? Oh, what's wrong? And then, you see her do that and she actually starts to go stiff. As in, not stiff as in scared, stiff as in serious.
Yeah,
She starts to
she's
like
getting ready.
She's getting ready. She knows, okay, the plan's going ahead. Oh, very well
and
done.
how hard she has to work to move his heavy body around. That was really cool. Just to see that later on, she had to really struggle to move this. Not a very big guy.
No, but he's practically twice the size of her.
Yeah,
Exactly right, but she's still meant to be a little 14-year-old
and
girl.
they show that she's not physically capable, but she's just had so many levels of this plan together that she's been able to overpower him.
She's really good. Like, she says that she's an honor student over and over again. And I have to believe her with the way that she's executed this plan, the method of detail within each level of the plan, the use of the environment, the fact that she's, cased out the joint. She knows where everything is, the schedule of the neighbours and the day that she's picked to come and do all this.
Yeah. And then she goes to have a shower after the castration bit and he gets free.
Yeah.
And the shower was another ploy. Like
Because she wasn't actually...
No, she wasn't in it.
Yeah.
She knew she had to have multiple levels of safety built in. And so he's come in.
Especially after the attack with the chair.
Yeah. And so somehow she knew he was going to get free. And then he's come after her with a knife and she's got a taser.
Actually, see, that almost for me goes, was that her giving him a glimmer of hope?
Yeah, I think it's part of that breakdown.
Yeah.
I think it's part of that. Is where he was getting angry, and she's trying to let his anger build up.
Yeah, and let him get free. Let him think, I've got the upper hand.
Then take it away.
And then take it away.
Then let it happen again and take it away. And then let it happen a third time. And he's just, by that stage, he's probably all out of adrenaline.
Yeah.
He's just a drained person physically, and then mentally he's just on his last legs. I think this is one of the best movies we've talked about in terms of just focusing on the story. We haven't really discussed the cinematography.
True.
Well, cinematography-wise, it was a very simple
There wasn't
shot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like one of those one-act films.
Yeah, exactly. But it was done, I mean...
This movie reminds me a lot of Sleuth.
Sleuth?
Yeah.
Explain.
Sleuth is a film with Jude Law and Michael Caine.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's only the two of them. And it's based on an old play. And from memory, I think it's a remake of an older film which is based on a play.
Yep.
And it's essentially just two characters. Much like this film, the movie rides on the interaction and dialogue of these two characters. With Sleuth, it's more of a case of one character slept with another man's wife and he's there to get the divorce papers signed from the husband, and the interaction of the two goes from like simple acquaintance, I'm here to get the paper signed and so forth, and twists and becomes bitter, becomes dangerous, and then becomes friendly again, becomes dangerous yet again, and it just keeps going, cyclical.
Okay.
And this one has a similar sort of notion. It's not entirely the same, but similar notion, just two actors carrying the whole film, but the twist is initially, we have an innocent girl becomes the assaultee.
Yep. Do you mean
you know what I mean?
The victim.
She becomes
she goes from being the victim
to the victimizer.
To the victimizer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Assaultee.
Or
What
the
fuck am I
abused
talking
to
about?
the abuser.
Assaulter would be the opposite.
Even actually, victim's a better word because she's not abused. She's put in a position where a 14-year-old girl should not be, except even though she's put herself into it. But that's not the point. The point is that as the adult, he should have the higher ground and not keep on going on this cycle. Anyway.
Yeah. Another thing we've reviewed recently was Creep. That was, again, the two-person sort of film. There was,
very different tone.
Yeah, I think it's different. There was definitely a different tone, but it was still that two people trying to communicate, and one of them being, a little bit unhinged.
Yeah.
And whenever there's communication, you're not sure whether the other person's fully understanding them or not.
Yeah. I think the main difference with Creep, though, is that it's also to do with location. The locations vary quite a lot in Creep, whereas with Hard Candy, there are only two real set pieces.
Yeah, it's the coffee shop in the house.
The first is the cafe, which you're only there for maybe 5 minutes, and then the rest is in the house.
Yeah.
And that in itself, the house becomes a character.
Yeah, it's very bright. The color used in this film is really good. Like there's sort of a blue tinge through the beginning of the film, like in all the interior shots, and then when they're outside, it's super sunny, super warm.
Well, I also look at it as the fact that in the start of the film, there's a lot of that blue haze going through, like it's kind of like a almost dusk sort of a look. But it's more so the fact of, if you were to look at it from Patrick Wilson's character, the blue is kind of like the realization of something is about to happen. By the end of the film, it's all bright and sunny. It's like the truth is being revealed slowly through the color palette.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Anyway, so I think it's time to wrap up on this one, unless you guys have anything else to add.
I'm just trying to think. I'm pretty sure I've said everything I need to on this one. Fuck, it's a great movie. It's actually funny. Like I said, the one thing I was going to say, that's right, that we didn't mention before.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say now.
Yes. So, once again, great movie. Like, you love rewatching it and whatnot. However, as we know, this is something that is still going on today. You know, people, this whole bit going online, pretending to be someone else, but also even just young girls and boys meeting, older people online and, meeting up with them, which is very stupid.
Yeah, I worry about what Tinder's going to be doing to the interactions of young people.
Well, we can talk about that another time.
No, it's a completely new story.
New story. But that was exactly the whole thing. The interactions that have changed, and because online have changed, and because of that, I did feel a little bit that this movie had somewhat dated.
Yeah, so I think you were saying this would have been very niche when the movie was out.
Yes.
Online dating would have been something that not everybody had heard of or experienced or didn't know what it was about.
Exactly, and things like Grindr, Blender, Tinder, and all that stuff didn't exist.
No, but there were chat rooms.
But there were, and there still are today.
Yeah.
And they still are today. But it's more exactly like, I think, and you mentioned it as well, Carlos, the meta language, the language that they used around the technology, has evolved.
Yes.
And I think that did it definitely made it feel like it was set 10 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't think about it until you guys mentioned it this morning, and I remember the VHS tape coming out.
Yeah.
I went, oh yeah.
VHS tape.
That's really dated.
That he's got a safe with actual, printed negative.
But here's the irony, right? The videotape coming out of the VHS player, when looking at it, I don't know, maybe because we grew up with VHSs.
Yeah, I didn't notice at the time.
It didn't actually stick out to me.
No, me either.
So I wonder, someone who is a millennial watching this movie,
You go, what the fuck is that?
I'm sure they know what VHS is, but I wonder if it sticks out going, oh, it's pretty old. I wonder if it sticks out to
Do you know how many people, this is my new test, are you a millennial test? What is the save icon representing?
Yeah.
And people go, oh, does it mean save? I said, what is the picture? Oh.
It's a floppy disk.
It's a 3 1/4 floppy disk.
Yep.
I was actually, you want to get real technical?
Never
It's
seen
a
them.
3 1/4.
And here's the kicker. Adobe has changed their save icon for Adobe Reader. It's now a 5 1/4.
Oh, God.
It's now a picture of a 5 1/4 disc.
As in a thick 5 1/4.
Yeah, remember the big, thin, flat, black, like floppy discs?
Yeah.
The ones.
all
ones I
the
used to
cool
have-
kids, all the cool kids had a maroon one. The maroon floppy disk.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, fuck off. I had white ones.
This is data was much better back then. It's like the audio sound come off a vinyl. Data was much better coming off a 5 1/4 inch floppy disk.
Corrupted a lot easier.
It did.
C:/space run space
No magnetic
load
shielding.
space.
It was just a piece of thin, flat plastic.
And it didn't have a protective cover across the actual disk
No.
area.
No.
And I just remember the sound. Oh, anyway, let's
But anyway, so the only major criticisms to the film is that the language regarding the meta references are a little bit sort of, they seem out of place, probably because at the time she's describing, mainly it's her when it's mentioned.
They would have needed someone young to describe the vernacular of, how kids would talk about it.
Yes.
And kids would talk about, the actual brand names, or like when you see things like in America and the UK, they would say hoovering. They put a name to things. Like,
It's not vacuuming; they're hoovering because it
was a popular brand. And
so the same sort of thing with branding, that she'll really brand something, which then dates it.
Yeah.
Because that's how kids would talk about it.
Fair enough. Anyway, so that's the only real sort of drawback on this film, but it's so minute that it really, for me, it didn't affect it.
No. And actually, for me, and now we're talking about, as we've been talking about it, actually, and especially how much we've been talking about the story, it actually means that if you can get past it, it's fine.
Yeah.
And
Everything else,
it's not much to get past.
Everything else is still very valid.
Totally.
Yeah. So, I think Oh, so one last thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up is that she has a phone call in the middle. She goes, "Oh, it's wrapping up a lot quicker than I thought."
Holy shit! I completely forgot about
I
that.
completely missed that.
Yeah. Do you want to go and catch? I think just catch a movie or something.
Yeah, do you want to catch a movie or something?
Yeah.
Holy
so
fuck.
that's what drags me into the thinking that she was a sociopath. That she's able to focus on that really emotionally disturbing situation and then break it and go, "Oh, I'm going to make plans for later on so I don't get bored."
Holy crap! I completely missed that.
I completely missed that as well.
Because it is a bit of a throwaway thing because she's doing it while she's cleaning the house, isn't she?
Yeah, she's cleaning the house. Well, I think at that time she's washing her hands. She's getting all the
But it's not the first
cow
time she's
blood off
also
her hands.
checking her phone
Sorry,
for
bull
messages.
blood
Yeah.
off her hands.
It's not the first time she's checking her phone for messages either.
No.
But she also does it as a ploy to say, "Hey, I'm looking at my phone and look where I've left it." Because when she leaves him, remember, he's trying
Tries
to get to the
Yeah,
phone.
yeah, that's right. And that's right. And she goes, "Wow, I thought you'd get so far. I didn't think you'd get this far."
And then
Yeah.
later on, he goes to dial 911 and actually doesn't press the button. Mm-hmm. And then she goes, "I've got you. I've got you 10 ways till Sunday." Like,
That's right.
you are not innocent.
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
sorry.
an innocent person
You've-
would have called the police and said, "Oh my god."
You failed every single test I've put in front of you.
Right. So, in
Yeah, we should
wrapping
wrap
up,
otherwise we're going to go on forever.
for me, this movie is a definite recommend. It's so good. Watching it through on a second time round really didn't date it for me. The two main actors are fantastic. The underlying question, is he, isn't he? In the end, he is. But you got to see the journey for yourself. So
Yeah, even this much explanation still doesn't take away from what this movie can do. It's really good.
yeah. So for me, the journey is the entire film. I'm going to give this one 5 bananas.
Wow, a whole 5.
Yes, whole 5.
That's a bunch.
That's a bunch. That's a bunch of bananas.
That was the joke, Heath.
Shut up.
Insert creaking noise here.
Yeah.
All right. So Heath.
Look, I also recommend it. I'd also recommend it if you are a parent with young children, as in when I say young, not under the age of 15.
Yeah,
but
no, maybe not watch it with them as such. Maybe watch it through yourself first.
Yeah, watch it through yourself first. But if you've got it 15 or older,
Yeah,
maybe you show it to them. Just talk about the dangers.
It's psychologically taxing. I'm not sure
totally.
I would even put.
What's MA15? That's an Australian rating that means that it's restricted for people 15 and older.
Yeah, okay.
That's equivalent to R in the States.
That's equivalent to R in the States.
I think the message, by the time you're 15 plus, I think the message is maybe a bit overdue. You might need to come up. I think this is probably a warning message for young adults and parents.
Watch what your children are doing.
Watch what your friends are doing. Watch what your little cousins are doing. Watch what your sister's doing. Protect them from this situation.
Well, that's exactly.
And I think also if there's anyone out there that thought it would be a nice little Lolita movie, this is introducing the boogeyman for the pedophile. You know?
It's in a way, it's almost like you take Lolita and you think it's kind of that, and it's like the complete mirrored opposite.
Yeah, there's people out there that'll f you up.
Right. In
Yeah.
any case, Heath, finish your roundup.
Yes. Thank you, Lee. So anyway, but yeah, no, I totally recommend it. Totally recommend it for viewing. The acting in it is fucking amazing. Once again, Patrick Wilson, I have to say, is now currently one of my favorite actors. And so watch anything that he's in because he's very, very good. I'm not going to go as high as you. I'm going to go 4 bananas.
Yep. I still love this movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie, but definitely 4 bananas.
No, I agree with both of you guys that it's a must watch, but my ratings come down to probably the rewatchability of it, and I don't think I'd be rewatching it again. I think I've had my fill of it. I've watched it through. I think I've sort of taken on board the themes, and it's not necessarily an enjoyable thing for me to watch torture, but it's important. It was really well done, really well made, and it's definitely worth the 3.5 bananas I'm going to give it.
3.5.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
That's a score of 12.5 bananas out of 15. It's a pretty high score.
It's actually a good mix.
That's a dozen bananas and one that fucked up.
Yeah.
Got
But it's you cut the bad bits
Or
off
it was
and you eat
tasty.
That's
anyway.
it. Or it was tasty.
And you just couldn't finish it.
Exactly.
All right, guys, we are the Theatre Gorillas. Stay tuned for the end of the theme song if you want to know what this week's Who Am I reveal is. Until then, we'll see you next week. Bye.
See ya.
So, yeah.
All right, so you stayed on to find out what the answer is for this week's movie Who Am I clue, and the answer is 1992's Reservoir Dogs, directed by Quentin Tarantino and written by Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avary.
Now, was this Quentin's first film?
No, Quentin's first, or directing, you mean?
Directing.
Good question.
Because I know that he'd written something before.
He wrote, you got me on that one.
Not Tim Roth with the one that he did of 4 Rooms.
Yeah, I was about to say, I saw that on Netflix the other day. I went, oh, Tarantino? No. I went, oh, no, he's only written part of it.
It's actually, can I say, if you haven't seen it, see it. It's amazing. Because it's obviously 4 different rooms, 4 stories written and directed by 4 different writers and directors.
Yeah.
Fantastic. The Robert Rodriguez one with bloody Antonio Banderas, hilarious.
Oh, cool. Yeah, all right, I'll give it a crack.
And Tim Roth, mate.
Yeah.
Fucking great actor.
No, it wasn't his first directed film. It probably was his...
Because that was his most highly acclaimed.
Yeah.
Like,
So-
as in, it's one that got him
We've heard that most of these movies all take place in the same universe.
some, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of his other works are all sort of in the same sort of, as I said, universe.
Yeah.
So-
some of the older ones obviously can't be.
So,
Yeah, of course.
As in
Reservoir Dogs...
set in all the times.
Reservoir Dogs is actually his 3rd directed piece.
Okay.
Probably the first one, definitely.
Got him some acclaim.
Yeah. After that was Pulp Fiction. So,
What was
good run.
What was before it?
Before it was Lovebirds in Bondage
Nope.
and My Best Friend's Birthday,
Nope.
which the cover of looks surprisingly a lot like Pulp Fiction,
Oh, there you go.
just in black and white.
All right. So
Well,
those two may not be part of the Quentin Tarantino universe that people talk about. So
Fair enough.
It would be the first one that was so popular that he got a name for himself.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm tell you what, I'm looking forward to his new one, Hateful Eight, coming out, which comes out, I think it's the 27th over here. So
Advanced screenings are this weekend and
Yes.
early next week.
yes, and it's going to be one of the last films that you're going to be able to see actually shot on film.
Yes, on 70mm.
On 70mm. So it's in good high res. Definitely go out and watch it.
As Dan explained it to us, it's very much the 8K of the cinema world.
Yes, yeah.
If you know your TV technology.
Absolutely.
So just back to the Reservoir Dogs. That's another one room kind of thing, isn't it? A one scene kind of story. Do they travel much?
really?
No, yes, a lot of the story takes place in one place,
Yeah.
but it still cuts in. Goes
Yeah.
between.
See, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember very much of it, but I thought,
There's a lot of flashbacks and so forth.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, great film though. If you haven't seen it, fucking go see it. It's
Definitely
amazing.
go see it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. It's incredible.
And before we sign out, favorite character of the film,
In Reservoir Dogs,
as in your colour,
Mr. Pink.
Mr. Pink. You?
I can't remember them. Sorry.
I think mine has to be. Which one was Mr. Pink? That was Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi's character. He's great.
Oh,
He's so good in that movie.
What was the... Fuck, I can't remember the actor's name. We might have to chop
God,
some
that
of
was
this
actually
audio
around.
out.
That was the time where
My
Steve.
favourite was Mr. Blonde,
Which is played by
Michael Madsen.
Yeah.
the psychopath of the group.
Yeah. See, that was this is also at the time when Steve Buscemi, I mean, granted, he's still great, but he was doing some fucking amazing films.
Yeah.
Like at this, you had Fargo, you had so many good movies.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no, just the one that I can remember quite clearly was Harvey Keitel.
Oh yes.
So
Mr. White.
I'm gonna say Mr. White's my favourite because I remember that he was in it.
Done.
Alrighty, guys. We are Theatre Gorillas. We'll catch you next week. Bye.
See ya.
This podcast is recorded and produced by Theatre Gorillas, edited by Dan Clark.